Hi guys, I'm back again with some more stories for you today. Let's go to the first one, about OP's cousin, who had an affair with OP's ex-husband and now is trying to sabotage his relationship with his kids. Listen to the story to find out how, and of course to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, guys, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. So, both 29, ex cheated on me with Rose, 30. She knew he had a wife and 3 kids, because she was both my maid of honor and cousin. It's no shock she doesn't like the fact that she has to share my ex's attention with his 3 kids, 9 female, 4 male, 3 male, and limits how much time we speak, aka co-parenting. So when she announced her pregnancy a few months ago, it was honestly the countdown before my kids were pushed aside. Like, obviously, she isn't all to blame. Their father should put them first. Since she's pissed on that stick, there's been multiple weeks where she was too ill to have the children stay, or they had to come home early. Then she's miraculously is well enough to go out to dinner or see a movie. They come to me a few weeks ago and suggested that basically 2 weeks before her due date and until the baby is 2 weeks old, my ex wouldn't take them, but FaceTime and visit every day, minus when she went into labor, plus a few days after, which was fair and I agreed. Till tonight I got a phone call from my crying 9-year-old. Apparently my cousin brought herself McDonald's back for dinner, and when my 3-year-old asked for chicken nuggets, she screamed at him, calling him a fat pig, then went on a rant about how much she hated having them over because they make her sick. By time I got there, their POS father was waiting outside with my very upset kids. I asked my sister to get them into the car and pull down a little bit so they wouldn't hear anything. Before I could talk, he blamed it on her hormones and tried to laugh it off. I told him he was a crap father and a hoo-ha. She waddled up to the door and suggested that the kids don't come back till the baby is at least 5 months old. She's 6 months pregnant, by the way. And no FaceTime or visits when she turns 8 months, till the baby is 3 months old, so they have a chance to bond. I stared at her till she tried to blame it on her bleeding and breastfeeding. I had enough, so I said, they're kids, not sharks, so the bleeding BS won't work. Wicked stepmom. You've been trying to push my kids out since day one, but guess what? You can have him completely. Like, a man that throws away his kids for some butt ain't crap, and I don't want my boys to think that's how to act, or I don't want you around my daughter for the same reason. I pity your kid. She started crying. My ex called me cold-hearted witch. I said thanks, then walked away. After all the phone calls and calming down, I think I went into a-hole mode. She needed to be put in her place. Nothing to do with her being pregnant. She's just a horrible human being. She was treating OP's child like crap, and OP's ex did nothing about it. I'll be surprised if they want to go back to their dads anyway after that. And I also think that it's time to drag some very entitled person to court to get it documented that stepmom thinks dad's children are too much of a hassle. She can't be bothered, and he agrees. So time to reduce dad's custody percentage and increase the child support to match. OP should lawyer up and do it all so above board they can choke on it. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Ab709 says, I'm going to say not the a-hole. She clearly wants to start over with your husband and exclude the kids. Shame on your husband for not sticking up for his own kids. Miss Migza says, not the a-hole, Mama Bear. I think you should give your ex's wife what she wants and try to get full custody of the kids. No Armadillo 8779 says, not the a-hole. I feel so bad for your kids. Your ex is the a-hole for letting someone kick his kids out of his life. They won't forget how horrible him and his wife have treated them. It may be best for you to keep them away. My ex-wife and I split amicably when our daughters were 16, 14, and 12. My oldest daughter told me that she hated me and that she wished I wasn't her father. The last time I tried to speak to her was at her graduation. I stood off to the side as she took pictures. My other 2 daughters ran over and hugged me, but my oldest daughter pretended not to see me until her friends started pointing to me and saying, I think that's your father. She came over and said, why do you have to ruin everything? I left, and my ex ran up to the car as I was about to pull off and asked what happened. I told her, and she said, I'm so sorry, and sat in the car and cried with me. Then she got angry and wanted to make my daughter apologize, but I told her to leave it alone because she was 18 now, and it was supposed to be her day. My daughter called later and left an apology on my voicemail, which was obviously forced. I didn't even respond. The years passed, and I got to experience everything I missed with my younger daughters. I was there to intimidate their boyfriends when they went to prom. I took pictures with them at graduation. I saw them off to college. Now my daughters are 26, 24, and 22. The oldest one reached out to me and asked if we could meet up. When we did, she said she was sorry for everything and hoped we could just move on. I asked her to be more specific and tell me exactly what she was sorry for, but she just went silent. I told her, when you're ready to talk again, call me. I had a little family get-together, just a little cookout thing with my wife, my ex-wife and her husband, and my 2 daughters and their husbands. Everyone knew about the graduation incident, so they knew why my oldest daughter wasn't there. But at some point during the cookout, my oldest daughter called one of my younger daughters, and when she found out about the gathering and that I didn't invite her, she started crying and hung up. I honestly don't think OP's daughter has to apologize. She was a kid and was torn apart by her parents divorcing. It doesn't sound like OP ever cared about her feelings, only about the fact that she hurt his. All OP seemed to do to work things out was to show up to events uninvited. She wasn't saying those words to hurt OP. She was saying them because she felt that way. She felt like OP ruined everything. OP needs to get over his petty grudge against his daughter for acting out ages ago. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Iman Razul Balevania says, "You're the a-hole. She might have been the a-hole a decade ago, but you're it now. Her behavior was unkind and hurtful, and it's okay to still be hurt over it. But it's been 8 years since her graduation. She tried to reach out, and it seems like you were more focused on having your feelings about her teenage behavior validated by asking her to list her transgressions to you than actually reestablishing a relationship. And if you decide that you don't want a relationship with her, then that's your choice. But you're going to have to accept that it's your choice, not just her fault. She may have been the one to damage the relationship to begin with, but if she's trying to reach out and you're shooting her down, that's on you." Smoothie32 says, "Not the a-hole. Bunch of folks on here have no idea how adult apologies work. It is far more than just saying the words. You don't get credit for showing up speaking. You have to put in the effort to resolve the hurt and move forward together. She did nothing close to what was needed and expected him to carry through the burden while she still acted like a child. She is 26, so that does not fly anymore. His party, he gets to invite who he feels comfortable with and wants to spend time around. Just like when it was her day, she got to dictate that he not be around." So I'm female 16, also have a twin sister, and younger sister and brother, also twins. Long story short, my mom, 46, walked in on my dad, 56, cheating with my mom's ex-best friend, female 55. Mom immediately asked for divorce and kicked out my dad. Since he is unemployed and had been for almost 8 years and refused to get a job, house was also in mom's name, so she got both full custody and the house while he got nothing. After the divorce, my mom started dating again and is now married to her wife Jordan. She has 2 kids from a previous marriage, both 16 female, and we all get along perfectly. Now, I haven't seen or talked to my dad in a very long time, so I was kinda shocked when he reached out to me on Snapchat. Of all things, he chose Snapchat, asking if me and my siblings would like to come over for dinner to catch up. At first, we all denied, but with a little convincing from our moms, we agreed. We also took our stepsisters. We all assumed it was just us and our dad. We asked him if we could bring our sisters. He said that was fine. Dinner was going great, until he said he wanted us to see someone we haven't seen in a long time. Our mother's ex-best friend, who is now his wife, walked downstairs wearing my mom's old dress. It was her favorite dress. Her great-grandmother bought it for her before she passed away, and she even cried when she thought she lost it. At that point, I was ready to rip the dress off her and leave, but kept my composure. I asked why she was wearing my mother's dress, and she responded with, "Because she can, and that she's an adult and can do whatever she wants, and I needed to mind my own business, and obviously, my mother wasn't thinking about it, and if she was, then that sounded like a her problem." I looked at my dad expecting him to say something, but he said that she was right, and I shouldn't make a big deal out of it. He then started complaining about how we never came to see him, and never talked to him, and didn't understand why we hated him so much. At that point, I exploded, and I'll admit I said a few harsh things. I told him that he's a stuck-up, lying, cheating piece of crap who can't keep his pee in his pants. And maybe if he got off his lazy butt and got a job, then maybe he would have had some type of custody of me and my siblings. I also told his wife she's a crappy friend who couldn't keep her legs shut and not duck her best friend's husband. At that point, she was crying and told me to get out of her house. So me and my siblings left and waited outside for our mom. I'm now getting lots of angry calls and texts from my dad's family and friends, saying I'm a jerk, and I'm starting to think I am. So Reddit, do you think I'm an a-hole? Update. Number 1, we did get my mother her dress back. It took a lot of arguing between my mom, dad, and stepmom, but she got her dress. Number 2. I saw a comment saying that it doesn't make sense as to why my stepmom would have a dress just to wear it to a revenge only once. Turns out, this isn't her first time wearing it. Whenever we went back to their house, my dad confessed and told my mom that my stepmom always talked about how much she loved the dress and would get upset when my mom wouldn't let her wear it. So when my dad was packing his stuff, he snuck the dress so she could wear it out to dates and just whenever she felt like it. Number 3. I saw a comment asking if my dad's family and friends knew what really happened. And yes, they did. My dad's side was always toxic and mean to my mom and our side. And my dad's mom also knew about the affair and was happy about it, because that meant my mom was out of the picture. We also have officially went no contact with all of them. Wow! What pieces of work OP's father and his side piece are. They got married. He didn't bother to tell OP, or tell OP she'd even be there. And then when she comes down in OP's mom's dress, as if this is any type of normal. This lady sounds like a psycho trying to play OP's mom, and OP's dad is too busy playing victim to realize how much he's damaging his relationship with OP and OP's siblings. His family and friends are a-holes too. Oh my goodness. Who do they think they are getting any say in this? It's none of their business. I would send a group message to them all and let them know any further communication on the subject will result in OP going no contact. C.R. Bryant 1972 says, "Not the a-hole. Chances are pretty good that your mom's ex-best friend and your father knew how much that dress meant to her. Not telling you he married the ex-best friend or that she would be at this dinner was wrong. Icing on the cake, she's wearing your mother's dress, rubbing salt in your wound. It was childish and immature. They should have been trying instead to repair your relationship, but they made it about them." Deleted user says, "Not the a-hole. You told your dad and his new wife some truth, and they didn't want to hear it. For this best friend to come in wearing your mother's favorite dress was just pouring salt on the wounds. Get your mother's side of the family to back you and push back against your dad's side. They shouldn't even be contacting you about this. I'm guessing your dad has never told them an alternative version to the facts of this encounter." Elisa Gina says, "Not the a-hole. Your dad and his wife are the a-holes. You said everything I would have said. I'm raging for you and your mom, to be honest." I've been married to my wife for 12 years. About 5 years in, my wife started feeling like we were in a rut and emotionally neglected because I was working so much and she was left spending so much time taking care of our 2 kids. She started an emotional affair with a coworker, which lasted for a few months before she confessed and ended it. I was really bothered by this, because I know that for my wife, the emotional connection is as important as the physical, so it could not have been any worse if she physically cheated. We did not pursue therapy at that point. I thought I was okay, but the hurt continued to simmer, and eventually led to me confiding in a colleague, someone in my line of work but not a coworker, friend, which eventually turned into a physical affair. I did not feel like I was wrong at the time for doing this, since I felt like my wife's unfaithfulness was the cause. I was wrong. I don't deny this now. We had an affair for around 2 years. It was during that time that my partner got pregnant and she gave birth to my son. He now is over 5 years old. I eventually confessed all of this to my wife after I started feeling guilty. Things were bad for a long time, but we did get into therapy and have managed to work through our issues. In many ways, our relationship now is better than before either of our affairs, and we have even since had another child. My wife has always been fine with me being active in my son's life, which is something I told her would have to be allowed if we were going to work things out, because it would not be fair to punish him for my failings. Up until now, that has worked well enough. I soon will be sworn in for a new position I am taking, and I had planned to invite my son to watch since my other children will be attending along with my wife. My wife freaked out when I told her my plans, and said if I did, it would be like throwing my affair in her face. She thinks it is an a-hole move to invite him, but I think he has as much right to be there as my other kids. I can understand her view, but I think I would be the a-hole if I didn't invite him, but let my other kids come. Jeepers Creeper 74 says, "Everyone sucks here, except not your son. You're the a-hole for trying to spin this story where your wife's emotional affair of a few months is somehow equally problematic and the source of your own 2-year-long physical affair that produced the child. You literally make it sound like we both cheated, when that is not the case. You say you don't deny you were wrong, but the way you've laid this out still reeks of denial of culpability. Your wife is slightly the a-hole for refusing to honor your agreement that your son would be a big part of your life. She's putting her own feelings of embarrassment about your affair above those of an innocent kid. As your son gets older and more aware of the circumstances, she's going to have to learn to deal with him being around without making him feel like a source of pain for her. That said, your son is 5. He does not care about a swearing-in ceremony. It will be boring for him, and not something he's going to feel sad about missing out on. For this instance only, it seems you could keep the peace by keeping him at home. Ryan, writing in Sweden, says, "You had an affair, had a kid from that affair, and your wife has not only continued to stick with you, but also allowed you to be active in the life of the person you had an affair with. Give her this one. You're the a-hole." Deleted user says, "You're the a-hole. Your wife did not cheat on you. Flirting with someone for a few months is not at all the same as ducking someone for 2 years. One is a normal human interaction that was cut off long before it led to any betrayal. The other is adultery. That led to a child with your mistress, whom you rammed your D into for 2 years. You're a crappy person, dude. It takes some next-level vindictiveness to cheat on your wife, to punish her for developing a crush on a coworker, telling you about it, and then cutting off communication before any cheating occurred to save the relationship. In response to her open and honest and totally appropriate communication about said crush and its effects on your relationship, your vengeance conceived a child to punish her after ramming your D into another woman for 2 years. That's ducked up. You are definitely the a-hole.